All right, we're being joined by Eke Ubiji now, the Executive Secretary of Small and Medium Enterprises Association. Thank you very much, Mr. Ubiji, for joining us on the program.
Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chibi and Mr. Larry Williams.
Thank you so much.
Well, last week, of course, we heard what the central bank did with the foreign exchange market by discontinuing allocation of forex to the BDCs. And of course, you cannot talk about forex without mentioning the MSMEs because it sure has an implications for them. Now, for you, what came to your mind when that announcement was made? Were you excited? Were you disappointed?
Thank you very much for that observation. Firstly, the change was so swift because the CBN forgot to put into consideration that the BDCs are also SMEs. They are also SMEs in the financial services sector. They have employees that work for them, isn't it? So if you make such discontinuation, what is going to be the backlash? What is going to be the effect?
But that doesn't stop them from operating now. What the central bank is saying is that they should go and source their forex elsewhere. Perhaps.
But, you know, it goes with some level of challenges also. You understand? But now, look at what they've done. The channel, they said, okay, commercial banks will handle the rest.
Mm-hmm.
You ask, before, when BDCs were doing it, it's very easy for an SME to walk into a BDC, procure the forex the person wants, and walk away. But if you go through the banks, commercial banks, the protocols you follow, official protocols, fill this and that. Do SMEs have that time? Do they have such luxury of time?
Well, the central bank have alleged some kind of abuses in you know, within the BDCs, operation.
Okay, I'm not closing my eyes to that. But the CBN is a regulator. It should have thought of coming up with some systems and procedures that would have helped to monitor and provide solutions that will address those concerns they noticed. Instead of
throwing the baby with the bathwater.
Exactly, because I'm telling you, SMEs are not like the Guinnesses, the Cadburys of the world. A lot of them are struggling. Now,
so what has been the experience of your members walking into a bank to access a foreign exchange?
The experience have not been so smooth. What do I mean by that? It takes time. The protocols you follow, fill this, fill that, and all whatnot. Sometimes asking for, pardon me, asking for mosquito kidney. You understand? So to an average SME that is time conscious of what he or she is doing, it's time wasting. Look, let me give you a typical example. Go and check your records. In most countries of the world, BDCs play this role. When I went to China some years ago, it was in the market. A market, very big market like the Tejo market. You have BDCs there. I didn't go to a bank. And what they use is more or less kiosk, not formal office in the true sense of the word. I mean China. I had some dollars. I need to procure their currency.
Of course, that's the essence of having the BDCs.
Absolutely.
They're supposed to, you know,
but
service.
When abuse, when they're not following the rules.
They're supposed to service those who would need a foreign exchange
and
below 5,000.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have them dealing with foreign exchange
5,000.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. We are not in support of BDCs venturing into all those abuses. It's not good because this country is our own. We have to do everything to ensure that things are done properly. But what I said, I've said it earlier, I said, it's the duty of the CBN. After all, is it not the CBN that regulates the BDCs? Is it not the CBN that registered them? There must be a way by which you can, especially if you identify those areas where there are flaws. You come up with appropriate policies to address them. That's what I'm saying. Now, let me give you an example. I told you when I started, I said the BDCs are also SMEs. When we are reading your news, we are talking about unemployment, employment, and all whatnot. Those people that work within the BDCs, you came with this bank. Some of them will be thrown out of job. Do you know the implication? If there's nothing they can do again, we are talking of banditry, kidnapping, and all whatnot. It's going to increase. It's going to increase. So you look down and see the effect. I'm not saying the CBN should not do their work, please. Let them do their work, but let them be sensitive.
But the CBN has, said that banks will you'll be able to get foreign exchange from the commercial banks, going forward. But how do you?
And the banks are also assuring the banking public that when you come, there will be supply. Yeah, and they've created a desk for foreign exchange desk.
Of the banks, yes.
Yeah.
If you read the news, if you read papers and watch the news, you see that. But this is not the first time. Go down the memory lane. I hope the abuses that happened the first time, earlier when it was done, will not repeat itself. Because you say, go to banks, you go there, banks say they don't have the forex. Then, I'm not talking of now.
Then, yeah,
even now, one of the pluses you can give to what the CBN have done is that, look at the exchange rate now. As of this morning, when I watched TV before I left the house, 412 naira to $1. While before, when BDC was, it's 500 and something. Isn't it? That's it. But let's be cautious about this. Let's be sensitive. How are we going to continue with this undisturbed, undistorted? We have to put that into consideration.
Do you think that this is not sustainable?
That's the point I'm giving. That's the point I'm making.
Now, to what extent are your members dependent on the parallel market and the BDCs for their forex? To what extent?
A lot of them, I don't want to mention names. Do you know, not up to a month now, a notable person in my organization wanted to travel. You understand? Before even this policy announcement, he advised the person that was to go and say, please just go to the airport and get, he doesn't want anything that will delay him.
So it's all about delay.
I'm just giving you that instance. So not to talk of somebody who wants to go and procure raw materials and so on, machineries and all whatnot. And these things are time-bound. That's the fear we have. And the SMEs are not, like I mentioned, the Guinnesses of this world, the Cadbury's of this world. You know how the operations are. Any little distortion can mess up what they are doing.
But for you now, what would you say is the solution at this point?
You see, the solution to this is, instead of throwing off the BDCs with a policy bank, the CBN should do effective and close monitoring of the operations so that they keep to lay down policies so that will not be open to abuses. I know CBN said BDCs were abusing it. If they were abusing this process, what makes it difficult for you to assess it and come up with policy options that you can use to address those abuses?
Well, that might take the CBN's attention from the important
one way to tackle this problem of dependence on forex is perhaps to look inwards, to promote import substitution. So, to what extent have your members been able to look inwards to source their raw materials? Because if you look inwards, then perhaps you wouldn't have to have so much demand for forex.
Foreign exchange. True.
Thank you very much for that question. It's not just our members alone. The government should also try to pay attention to this, because immediately we can generate our raw materials from within the country. It makes it easier for everybody. We have a look at, for example, the government, federal government have an agency called RMRDC, Raw Materials Research and Development Council. This agency has been doing a lot of research on options, alternatives to some of the raw materials that are brought in from outside. You understand? If more funding could be given to that organization so that they will have a way of advertising, talking to the public, especially the relevant sectors. Look, we have this in place. If you've been to their office, you see samples of raw materials they've researched and produced, waiting for use. But how many people know? I know about them because I go to their office, we relate to each other. It's an institutional member of our organization.
Right.
You understand? So that's why we're able to know that. And in many programs we do, they are involved. But how many people, I may know in my capacity, but how many people, those concerned who need those things, how many of them know?
What would you say are the constraints? Actually sourcing raw materials locally?
One, it depends on the type of raw materials you need. For example, there are agricultural products that are raw materials. How do you use them? Do you use them straight from the farm, or do they need to be processed before you can use them in your productive activities that will end up in manufactured goods or products? These are the things. You don't just fetch. Look at in the agricultural sector. Okay, you use mango fruit to produce mango juice, isn't it? Okay, that mango you get, does it become mango juice overnight? It undergoes certain processes. You process, store.
That value chain should actually...
Value addition. There are so many value additions. Even the machineries you need to do that, you have to have them in place. Then the canning and so on and so forth. So these are the things before you now come out with mango juice products.
Now let me ask you, a weak currency offers, advantage for exporters. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, have the SMEs been taking advantage of this weak currency for their exports?
Well, come again.
There's a weak currency.
A weak currency which offers advantage for exporters. How often, does SMEs take advantage of this weak naira for their exports?
SMEs would like to take a lot of advantages in that regard. But it's not just weak naira. Before you can export a product from here to outside the country, there are a lot of processes you have to undergo. If you don't comply with that, look at the issue of standards and quality and standards. You need to. Then you have to process your papers. But one of the things that have been done recently, which Nigeria is part of, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is, I must commend the African Union and the AfCFTA. We've been working assiduously hard on that so that by the time it takes effective, it starts effectively, our SMEs will partake in that process. Because some of the things, say duty this, duty that, all those things are more or less reduced so that an SME will not be scratching his or her head. Even though there are still some constraints. Infrastructure. Like if you go to Europe or America or what, name them. You can move even with train. SMEs can even carry their products by train instead of flying them or what, or using trucks. You understand? If you've been abroad, from Amsterdam, you can travel by train and enter into Germany.
All right.
So these are some of the challenges. It's not so easy. But if you want to do them by air, You have to find a way to cover the cost.
All right, Mr. Obuji. Yeah. I guess we'll have to leave it there now. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Mr. Eke Obiji is the Executive Secretary, Nigeria Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. Thank you so much for coming on Business Morning.
Thank you very much, please.
All right, we'll take a moment now. Our commodities market update is next after the break. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.